Hello, this is John with Mastering Life Force. Today's video is language, labels, and beliefs and how they form our perceptions. Language, labels, and beliefs are so important to understand, and to understand how they really form, our beliefs and how we view reality and everything that's going on around us, what's happening in the world. And really we need to understand what these things are so that we won't be controlled by them. Because really, over eons of time, through all of this last cycle of learning that we've been in, language, labels, and beliefs have been used to control us and to manipulate us into giving our energy away and giving our sovereignty away, giving away whatever we have. So it's something that each one of us really needs to look very carefully at. And then once we look at this and see how those things are controlling us, we begin to understand what we can do to break away from that, from all of these controls that have been put in place, and break into a new way of looking at reality, a way of living and a way of being that is sovereign. It brings back your sovereignty. It brings back your ability to stand in your power and create a world around you that is what you intend, what you truly intend, and what is really intended for us within this reality, which is more in alignment with learning in a peaceful way that's not so dramatic as the last 25,000 years have been. We're stepping into a period now that things are going to be much more refined and going away from this. But in order for us to move into this new energy of the earth, this new way of being that we're moving into through this transition we're in right now, we need to take a close look at labels and beliefs. First of all, when you were born into this system, and this, everybody knows this, when you were born in, wherever you were located in the earth, whatever family you came into, handed you their belief system. They handed you the beliefs of the area, the labeling and the beliefs that are right in their being, in their world, and what they have experienced. And we must understand that a label is a label. A belief is something that has been developed and given to us through this language of labels and definitions of things that are around us. So anything that you've been handed any time in your life is someone else's perception of reality. And not only is it someone else's perception of reality, a lot of it is a perception that is developed by others who actually understand the reality. But what they're doing is they're developing a perception within you that allows them to control you. So we have to understand that about all of these things. We have to understand about knowing that possibly what we've been handed, the labels that we are given and the beliefs we are given, may not be as accurate as reality, as what is really within reality. In order to break away from all of this, you really have to move yourself into a completely neutral state where you no longer judge. You no longer judge these things. You no longer judge anything. You have to be in this neutral state where you can just look at things and look at things for what they are. You have to step away in a form of detachment. I call it a loving detachment, loving and unconditional loving, because there is no judgment involved in your neutrality, in where you're stepping to. The only way to break away is to step into this neutral space, which is non-judgmental, and start to look at the field of all these labels, the field of all these belief systems, the field of really what's happening. I call it hyper-awareness. Hyper-awareness is really being neutral. It's not challenging. It's letting go and allowing everything to exist without judgment and seeing the field of play. That's the only way to start to determine what things really are in your environment and what's really happening. Through hyper-awareness and neutrality, you really begin to see how everything is connected, how things are connected. If you form a judgment or a belief about an item, you actually block. You actually put yourself in a box and you block your ability to see everything happening. You've put yourself into a microcosm. We don't live in a microcosm, folks. We live in a macro universe. We live in a multidimensional, multifaceted universe. So when we label, when we judge, when we put things into these microcosm, into these boxes, we step into that box and we do not recognize, we're not hyper aware anymore. We've already formed an opinion, a judgment, and a belief upon something. Then a wall, a boundary, and a box is put around us where we're going to have trouble judging the truth about anything that comes to us in this reality. The governments, the financial institutions, the corporations, the religions, all have a structured, set box for you to step into. They have a set of beliefs and labels that they have directed the terms for within that box. And all of these terms are according to their guidelines, their beliefs, their labels, and their structures that they want you to have in order to fulfill their mission, what their intent, and what they want. You have to step out of all those boxes. You have to step out of all that, and you have to become neutral toward all of those different things. And you have to open yourself up, and you have to let go and allow and be in this neutral field in order to have higher consciousness discernment. Higher consciousness discernment is in neutrality, it's non-judgmental, and it's through hyper-awareness. Hyper-awareness is having the macrocosm and the knowing of the source of creation that is within you. That's hyper-awareness. That's being. When you step into higher consciousness, you're stepping into a level of being that touches the conscious awareness of all that is, of all information and knowledge. And when you do that in a non-judgmental form, in a state of neutrality, you tap into that field of being and that field of knowing. When you step into that field of knowing, you know the answers. The answers are there, and you know how to discern. You no longer have to label. There's not labeling in higher consciousness, folks. There's being, there's knowing and understanding. So what I found anyway in my life is when I stepped into this state of neutrality, when I moved myself into this hyper-awareness, which is a learned activity that took me time to develop, in letting go and allowing everything, in not judging, in being as pure, pure as I can in all of my bodies, the 4 bodies. Okay, you have to be pure all the way across and detach yourself. Become sovereign. Become a sovereign being that is does not let any others, that stands in your power of your free will choice and intent to create and do no harm to others. That's the true power of who you are, is you actually have choice. You can actually have intent, and you can actually create. You can actually create a different world for yourself, even though it seems like this world is becoming totally chaotic. But that is where the power of humanity lies, is for all of us to move into this neutral state and move into this neutral state unified together in peace, balance, and harmony. And when we move into this state, then the world will become peaceful, in balance, and in harmony. So I challenge you to look at these items in your life. Look at the labels and the beliefs in your life. Start letting go and allowing. Step outside the box. There is a box that we've all been around. We've been sitting in that box, and we've only been seeing the 4 walls. You can break through that box. You can open the lid and look, but you have to quit judging yourself, and you have to quit judging everybody else for what they're doing. And you have to purify yourself in order to obtain the highest levels of consciousness that you can. So that's my message for today, and I want to wish you the blessings, many blessings for you and your family. And I'll see you in the next video.